Oh yes, legends. How's everybody doing? Hope you having a fantastic day today. Let's analyze the situation here for the price of Bitcoin, getting this movement to the downside. Now, do we have a successful breakout? Are we looking for $60,000 Bitcoin in the next coming days? Probably, yes. I have to say that the highest probability, if it's not going to be in the next coming days, potentially the next 1 to 2 weeks, that it is very, very likely that we do take out the lows here. Okay, this is where I'm still standing, of course, with yesterday's video update. The first main scenario that was my favorite was that triangle structure. You know, the main scenario that looked very nice was the triangle A, B, C, D, E, looking for that higher time frame wave 4 and look for the breakdown in a wave 5. However, we haven't quite broken down quite successfully, and we've got a significant bounce when we do take a look at the lower time frames here, which is looking quite interesting. I want to break it down. That this movement down hasn't had follow through. Usually when you have such a large consolidation with that potential triangle, you really want to see a very, very solid breakdown. Now, we did get a solid move down. However, we got an instant nice bounce throughout today, which is giving us some information to say, hey, you know what? Maybe this range is actually going to continue before we get below $60,000. So it might be a little bit more boring than we thought, guys. It was actually quite boring throughout the last 1 to 2 weeks. There is a chance that we could actually come back up to the highs of the range. We have to say this triangle breakout hasn't been very aggressive. It looked aggressive. However, we just didn't get follow through, right? And we got a significant bounce today. There is a chance, of course, of getting an impulsive move countered here. However, your fifth wave is the longest one in that case, right? There is a way of counting an impulse with an extended fifth wave, which is less probable, of course, than a general impulse, with your wave 3 being the longest one. So, is there a chance that this is your wave 1? Absolutely. Now, it's all about this bounce right over here. Of course, on the lower time frame, you could arguably discuss that we do have a little bit of an impulsive move to the upside when we do zoom in on the 15-minute time frame. So it is actually looking pretty okay for a higher low here and claim the local highs. Very choppy, overlappy structure here to the downside. So potentially we could claim those highs at 66.6k. maybe throughout the next coming hours if we do figure out that this is a corrective structure. So far, the movement up does look like an impulse. So could we get this corrective and get the next leg to the upside to claim those highs? Will it be a 3-wave structure, move down, or could we break out in a 3rd wave? That's what's looking quite interesting here in this local range. We'll break that down, okay? We will break it down. I would say it's still a little bit soon, but it is looking choppy, overlappy. It's not looking too bad. So do we break down already throughout the next coming hours and next coming days, as we have broken, right, the lows here, these higher lows of that potential triangle? I have to say the bulls locally have a chance. They do have a chance because of this internal bounce. Now, as we have the largest move to the downside here, we have retraced all the way up to the golden pocket from the latest move down with the highest amount of volume, which is not preferred, of course, for that wave 4. It's literally an invalidation for a wave 4. So if this were to be a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, you want your 4 and 5 retracing to the 382, 50% Fibonacci, continuing that momentum to the downside to finish that impulse. That is not the case. We've actually got a significant bounce from 64.3k all the way up to 66.5k, which is not that great. Of course, you have the possibility of an expanding 5th wave. Okay, it is rare, but we need to give it a chance, of course. So if that is an expanding 5th wave and this is your wave 1, then naturally we would be looking for a correction, a lower high, and movement to the downside to tackle the lows of the range at $60,000. We'll be breaking down, most importantly, I think here, the 1 hourly time frame. I think this is the range that we are mainly more focused on. We don't need to discuss the general downtrend, right? The idea here is for looking for that wave 4. When will it finish? And I have to tell you, there is higher probability that this range is corrective. Okay, for the moment is what the information that we have based on timing, Fibonacci, the internal waves that are going to be explained in today's live stream. There is higher probability that this range is corrective regardless if it gets a move up above the highs of the range. That would actually be looking very interesting for myself to look for a short position. Regardless if that happens, there is high probability in coming down to tackle this low at $60,000. First of all, before we continue with the content and go through the comment section, okay, we're going to go through the comment section before we forward the different scenarios that I'm looking at. Quick disclaimer, of course, I'm not a financial advisor. This content is for educational purposes only and is not financial advice. The information provided is not guaranteed to be accurate or complete. Always conduct your own research before making any financial decision, guys. Let's go through the comment section. Say hello to the absolute legends, okay? And see what is going on, okay? See what's going on in the comment section. Make sure to destroy the like if you do enjoy the content. That's highly appreciated. Does give a lot of support, of course. And let's go through comment section, see what the people are thinking. Just a general hello, and we'll move forward on the 1 hourly time frame to break down the different scenarios. We're going to freestyle it, okay? It's all in the head. We're going to go level by level, all right, and talk about the different possibilities. The bulls here do have a chance based on this movement down, how it's developed. All right, we'll break that down later on the 15-minute, 5-minute time frame. But overall, generally looking at this range is what is most important for any intraday setups that I am interested in, of course. Long positions have been stopped out at break even, of course, from the lows of this range. This was highly likely that we were going to get a bounce here. However, the bounce was looking very corrective, as explained yesterday, and looking for a move to the downside, despite any of, conflicts worldwide and whatever. The probabilities on the chart were actually to get that movement down, okay, based on the bounce that we had here to the upside. So what is next? Well, this is what we're going to do today in the live stream, guys. Let's say hello to the wonderful legends here. Baddies, how are you doing? Hello, Andy, waiting. Yo, Andy here from New York. Where you at? I am here. BM, much love. Kashmiri, hello. A Trader, good day to you, all legends. Good day to you, my man. Nico, Nikhil, sorry. Yo, how are you doing? A Trader, legend, smash the like button. Here we go. ABC, WXY, to the moon, let's go. That's an awesome comment. WXY, ABC, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to the moon, let's go. Let's hit the first milestone of 100 likes. Yeah, that would be much appreciated, guys. Okay, just a quick hello here and we'll break down the different scenarios. Distance Music, much love. Good evening, Kashmiri. KJS Trading, hit the like button, guys. Let's go. Distance Music, Chonic. Gold is pumping, crypto is dumping. Yes, it is what it is. It seems like hard metals are leading in the last few months. He posted regarding tariffs an hour ago. Okay, interesting. The local price action matches the pattern in May of 2022 when we swept the range lows and took the range highs before continuing to the downside. We can take a look at that. We do have the bars pattern somewhere here in the folder. Right, we do have, yeah, this kind of price action, which was from 2022, as you pointed out here, right, which is just a little bit rangy potentially, right, and then just continue to the downside here. We can discuss that later on. Okay, we can discuss the similarities of 2022, but for the moment, we'll focus on what is happening here, right? What is happening here? Is this breakdown successful, right? Do we get continuation down? And what are the invalidation levels for the bears? What are the invalidation levels for the bulls locally, which is taking the local low, of course, at 64.3k. So What's the buyer's looks? BTC will take Asian high first before dumping, watching from the Philippines. MC, much love. Safe haven it is. Ashi, how are you doing? Hi, brother. One long video on Elliott Wave. Yes, sir. Yeah, we do focus a lot. Hi, brother Andy. A long video on Elliott Waves. Yes, we'll focus on a lot on Elliott Wave. So yeah, let's McAllen. 18 shots on me, sir Andy. The water is getting too high. BTC 45, then 33k. As always, sir, you are my hero. Thank you very much for the kind comment. Anyway, so right, somebody asking about the bias. What is the bias, right? What is the bias looks for Bitcoin? You know, I have to be pretty straightforward here, just in simple terms to explain. You know, obviously, intraday scalping and all of that is all nice and good. We can talk about levels and possible setups. Okay, you know, as traders, we are patient. We look for the best levels, the best scenarios, and projections that we can have. And I can have myself. I say we as a community, of course, but it's basically just sharing my personal opinion, no financial advice. So the probabilities on the higher time frame is that what is forming here or has formed is likely corrective, is likely corrective, and we don't have a you know, a solid impulsive move or something starting very strongly from this low right over here to actually go to much higher levels right in the next coming weeks. We don't have something solid as an impulse, and we have something more solid as a corrective range. And we did discuss this, I mean, not only yesterday, throughout the last, you know, I would say the last week easily, that wave fours are usually very, very long. They're very complex. They can turn into a triangle. If the triangle doesn't break out, then potentially we are extending a WXY. And this is why we're here, to try and figure out, you know, what is the scenario. I got a pretty interesting comment, actually a couple of them yesterday, which is, we either go up and down, right? Oh, fantastic. Thanks for the information. We either go up or down, which is, we talk about both scenarios, but there's always going to be a favorite scenario for me, right? And, you know, my favorite scenario yesterday was, you know, actually the triangle and breaking down. Of course, we have new information today. New information with the breakdown not being so great. So we need to discuss, you know, have the probabilities changed? Right, well, this is why with the daily updates and live streams are important, right, to watch and kind of follow through. And we'll discuss, you know, how the price could evolve throughout the next coming hours between today and tomorrow to actually change or shift, you know, either the bullish case or bearish case. But as it stands on the 4-hourly time frame, from the movement that we got from $98,000, you know, the highest probability is that this is corrective and not impulsive. And, you know, the probabilities are higher that at some point we do claim that $60,000, just purely based on the information that we have on the chart. You know, what information is valuable? How can you stand by this? Well, apart that we are in a bear market, we are in a downtrending market, of course, is that from this large range that we had since November of 2025, okay, all the way up to the highs here in January of 2026 at just under $98,000. From that same high, this is clearly a correction. We already started that move down right a few weeks ago. It does look like an impulsive move, right? That is not finished. We got the first leg down, and the next large consolidation, we got a stop here, right? Which we obviously want to label as that wave 2. The wave 3, usually the longest one and the most powerful with increasing volume, pretty aggressive move down from $90,000 all the way down to $60,000, right? This happened in a matter of, you know, a couple of weeks, less than 2 weeks, right? Very, very aggressive move down. Just want to point out for the people that are new, right? I know this is, you know, we've talked about this, you know, this is like, there's nothing changed throughout this scenario, right? It's as it stands, it's the main scenario. Do we have the triangle finished, right? And are we breaking down in an impulse? Well, this local impulse, it needs to be an extended fifth wave, which is not the best. Not the best. However, we're downtrending, so we're always going to try and prioritize the bearish case, right? I know a lot of people, you know, out there. I did hear a lot of, you know, throughout X and other, you know, crypto YouTubers technical analyst if you wish, that, you know, even myself, I was very much open to the possibility of hitting $72,000 plus, right? This was basically last week. I was very open for that scenario based on the corrections that we're getting down. Of course, you know, once you have the 4 pivots in a triangle, then you're like, you know what, maybe this is a triangle actually, and we form a lower high here, and, you know, we end up breaking down. So, you know, I had to prioritize that scenario, especially when you zoom out, understanding that, you know, this is, it's a bearish market. We've consolidated and squeezing in a triangle. So naturally the probabilities, you want to favor the movement down regardless of any, you know, any tensions that are happening worldwide, right? And politics and what's or not. So regardless, the charts are saying, you know, it's not bullish, right? So with this scenario, I can only say that locally things can complicate a little bit more. All right, simple thing is that, you know, we just come down here in the next coming days below $60,000. What will be interesting, okay, is looking for levels of support, right? Because I'm extremely interested and in looking for longs after that low is taken. There is a simple reason why, because after a wave 5, right, just to get that movement from all-time high, if we are looking the rejection from all-time high 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, after a 5th wave, it doesn't usually break down very much beneath the 3rd wave, right? The most powerful one with the highest amount of volume, right? This is just an example, right? Just so you can see what happens when we are looking for a potential 5th wave. You're looking for a double bottom basically, right? Maybe not so much on the lower time frame, because you could drop a few $1,000s beneath that 3rd wave, right? But at the end of the day, you're looking for, you know, local levels of support. Look at the lower time frame and then look for that bounce, right? This is a bounce that has high probability because you're looking for a 5-wave move to be finished, right? So naturally on the higher time frame, you know, I'm very, very interested in, you know, looking for those lows to be taken at some point, regardless if it's this week or next week. Doesn't really matter, right? Because I know what I'm looking for here, right? You know, once we claim the lows, I will be studying very, very carefully how we got down there, because, you know, in simple terms, I want to identify, in this case, it would be from the latest lower high. If this is a triangle, okay, the triangle correction has finished in the E wave, right? Just getting you prepared for potentially, you know, maybe a good swing long position that I will be concerned, you know, I would be very much looking at to take, and that will be informed inside of the tradings community. Of course, there is where I inform daily updates and possible trading setups that I am looking for, just sharing my personal information, of course, with my partner Devalt, of course, that is inside of the community, also providing those daily updates. By the way, if you are interested, you do have a couple of months for free. Just send me the word access in Telegram. You just need to sign up throughout one of the affiliate exchanges, do a minimum deposit for your own trading, and we'll hop you in for a few months. So I'm very interested in that movement down. I'll be ready for some swing longs. And, you know, let's just go with, because, I mean, the swing trades are the ones, you know, I know a lot of people would say, you know, I wish I would have, you know, shorted Bitcoin a few weeks ago, right? At this, you know, regardless if it's $98,000, $97,000 or the 90K range here, there was very high probability in claiming this low. At some point, we said when we were in this range, as in, guys, we may be days away from coming down to get below $80,000. You know, this move was very aggressive throughout a few weeks ago, right? So, you know, now obviously we need to start thinking of reversals, because that reversal is going to happen, right? A significant bounce, right? Regardless if it's a bounce of $10,000 or $20,000, $25,000, you know, a bounce is something that looks very, very interesting for the next coming weeks. Of course, that bounce, you know, where I would be interested in, naturally, you know, if we were to come down here in that 5th wave, what levels of support do we have, right? We're going to talk about it, right? Let's go with the swing trading scenarios, because swing trades is, I mean, depending on how much capital you have, that they can be, I like to get into big swing trades, right? Because they're really nice to hold on, right? Really nice to hold on. And, you know, they're the ones that can profit the most, right, throughout the next coming weeks. Day trading and scalping, you know, it's just a little bit of headache. You need to manage risk very, very well. You need to manage your emotions very, very well. And swing trading is, you know, a little bit more chilled way of trading, of course, right? So with that fifth wave, right, let's just speculate that, okay, the triangle is finished here. We had that A, B, C, D, E. With the local information, I'm in doubt a little bit, okay? I am in doubt. Yesterday was my favorite scenario. We did end up moving down. How is this move down evolving, right? Is it looking good to get continuation? That is the main question. I'm going to say so because of that extended fifth wave and that large bounce, but market is bearish, right? I know a lot of people are hoping for a big reversal. We need to claim that liquidity at some point, right? It's pretty insane because, you know, inside of a community, Telegram, or X, or other YouTubers, in the comment section, naturally, right, you know, that liquidity cannot be left behind, right? But yeah, of course it can, right? We might come down first, right, and then get the bounce to the upside, which is something that we want to be prepared for. So as explained, you know, let's just say that let's just go that this range has finished. It has been a triangle. You can label it as a triangle. We'll discuss the the other scenarios, which is just forming a larger sideways WXY. Okay, it's just going to be a little bit more complex for the next coming days, with the potential, of course, of getting, you know, back to the 70K region. Very much a possibility. So, but in this case, what I want to see for that swing long position, right, because of course, I would say that there's a good probability here of getting a significant bounce once we get below $60,000, right? It's going to bottom out at some point. It's not going to nuke down to 20K, right? It's going to bottom out at some point, and it's going to get that bounce. And naturally, with that wave 3 being in already pretty large, you know, you would expect that wave 5 to get exhausted here, right? And then find support and get that relief rally. When we do consider the zone, of course, of support, you know, naturally we do have the value area low. There's a monthly naked point of control here at $58,000 approximately, more like 57.9 value area low of this trading zone. So there's a lot of volume. You don't want to lose that high volume node. When you get the fixed volume profile, this area will very, very likely provide support, because after the lows here of the value area low of this zone, basically, you can see it on the volume profile, volume disappears, right? And that would bring a pretty nasty move to the low 40K levels if we were to lose this range. I would not be expecting that. I would expect that the low of the volume profile would hold as support. And obviously, well, why do you have that reason? Why can't we just break down? Well, you know, the probability side is literally looking at this, right? Looking at the fifth wave. The largest move happened already in the last couple of weeks. So, you know, if we're looking for that movement down in a fifth wave, naturally you're going to expect it to be way smaller than this third wave, right? It's just the nature of the market, nature of how it moves. So coming down into levels of support, you know, below $60,000, there's actually some pretty insane support. Value area low is very strong support. We could say that that's in between $57,000 and $58,000. There is also that monthly naked point of control from this range. And when we do zoom in on the lower time frames, then of course, what we want to see based on, you know, if this is the end of the triangle, when we're looking for longs, there could be some intraday longs. Okay, we'll go through that in the next few minutes. Let's just cover the higher time frame, because I know some people would be more, I know a lot of people don't look at the charts for hours like myself and Devil, right? And some people, you know, have their 9 to 5 and they just want to check the market, you know, 20-30 minutes a day to see where we at, have some alerts, and be ready for maybe a swing trade. So this is why I want to cover this, because I know not, you know, a lot of people are not glued to the chart, so we get some stuff ready for people to know what they're looking for, right? See if that is what we're looking for the next coming weeks or coming days. So if this triangle were, you know, let's just speculate that this triangle did end up here in that E wave, that lower high, and we broke down here. You know, what we want to see is a fifth wave here on the higher time frame, and naturally you want to see a 5-wave structure being developed. The most common one, of course, is that impulse, right? Just a 5-wave impulsive move to the downside, and the moment you can detect this is when you have the big move, right? Naturally, on a breakdown or a break up, you have the first pop, which is usually a wave 1, right? And then you get your wave 2, and then another wave 1 and 2, and then you get the breakout, right? So the overall question right now, because we've broken down, yes, we can say it's an extended fifth wave, not too common, but you know, we are bearish, right? So let's just go with this scenario. Wave 1 could be in, wave 2 getting developed. What we want to see is that nasty move down at some point, right? Most commonly in the wave 3, regardless if it's a wave 1, wave 2, another wave 1 and another wave 2, and then, you know, you end up breaking down, right? With high volume, claim those lows. And what you want to look for here is that 4 in 5, right? Starting to see that slowdown, okay, into major zones of support, because we are speculating naturally on that fifth wave from $98,000, that impulsive move. But you need the big move first, right? I cannot say if we move down here, right? Say that we, you know, we correct here in a wave 1 and 2, and we move down very aggressively here with high volume. The preferred scenario, you know, naturally would be getting that 4 in 5, right? That's the moment that I'm interested in claiming the low, looking for that kind of double bottom scenario for the larger bounce to happen, right? Throughout the next coming days once this happens. Of course, taking out this low right over here at $60,000, we are starting to come down into some pretty interesting levels of support. Of course, we can hit, you know, 57, 56 maybe, right? You know, level of support is, you want some reactions, you really want to detect that 5-wave move here at some point, regardless if it's here or if it's here or if it's there. It doesn't matter if we extend here in this range. That's when we get ready, right? That's when I get ready to take that swing long position, of course, because this could really gear up for a significant bounce short squeeze scenario that I would be interested, right? Yes, we are in a bear market. Of course, shorts do have priority, but we can get into longs as well. You know, I did get into a long here in this range, right? You know, it's all good and fine. You know, you want to take some profits because you understand that this could be a triangle. Stop loss at break even, we come down, then, you know, you really need to adapt, right, to the conditions here on how the price moves. So with this, it's a matter of being patient, right? It's a matter of being patient. Trading is all about being patient and getting a few plans ready, right? And once the price comes to you, to your plans, then that's when you execute the trade, right? If the price is doing what you've planned for, then, you know, I need to take the trade, right? So back to that. This is insane amount of support down here, right? A value area low of a major trading zone. This was back in 2024. This, you know, as we do see, there's no volume here between 43,000 and 57,000, right? So that $56,000-$57,000 range, you know, I would expect some pretty intense support here. And, you know, naturally doing the counts, right, of the last few weeks, it makes sense that we finish that fifth wave before getting a significant bounce. You know, it might be 10,000, 15,000. It could take a couple of weeks to develop. You know, we just need to go here with that momentum. But the probabilities of breaking down very aggressively, okay, from $60,000, and when I say aggressively, it's like going down to, you know, 40K, right, are low, right? The probabilities are low to break down massively, right? And there's one simple reason why. The biggest move happened a few weeks ago. And you have that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. An extended fifth wave here, it's low probability. It is actually low probability. A normal fifth wave that can be similar the length of wave 1, obviously smaller than your wave 3, you know, has the highest probability, because that's what, you know, the most of the times these impulsive moves, it's, you know, it's the nature of the market, right? You know, this is what usually happens. Your wave 3 is the longest one, and your wave 5 is not that long. So we want to be ready here. We want to be ready. If that is the end of the wave 4 in that triangle, you know, I know what I'm waiting for. I can say, you know, because maybe a lot of people would say, well, why not this is the high, and that's a 1, 2, and that's another 1, 2, right? And we break here in a wave 3. Well, that's low probability, because the movements down from this lower high are corrective. There's no impulsive move down here from these waves. So I understand that the last lower high of the correction, where the impulse can start, is this one that we had right over here in the weekend. That's where the impulse starts in a wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Not from here, not from here, because the movements down are corrective. As the movements down are corrective, we have, you know, a lot of combinations here naturally, but this is one that looks attractive, which is that triangle, okay? That's finished with that movement here to the upside. We're gonna break down here, but this is just to say that, you know, it would have been, it's better to, you know, I'm not a fan of looking for shorts here at the moment with the information that we have. You know, I want to get ready for long positions. However, you know, I'm very much aware of breaking down to 60k, right? Still, you know, this could be the wave 1, wave 2. If it is going to be chopping corrective throughout today and tomorrow, we just look for the wave 3 breakdown, or another wave 1 and 2, and then it breaks down. So, you know, naturally, the thing about what, you know, main point that I want to cover here is that, you know, if you wanted to get into a short, you want a short here, right over here, basically at the range highs, valley area highs, right, of a range, right, valley area high right there, here almost coming into the point of control, or maybe more internally, that wick, that is a short position that I'm still in that short position. Of course, most of the profits have been taken here at the lows of the range, but leaving a significant chunk, understanding that, you know, we might get that wave 5 to the downside, okay? This short position, we did cover a little bit on YouTube. This was last week, okay? About, you know, this being an impulse, and then getting the movement down here in a correction. We're looking for that bounce after the local impulse down, okay? But Devils did cover this setup that he was entering here at the 70k region, and this is one that you know, I jumped in also with Devils, you know, making a, you know, significant profits here from that short position. That wick, basically, it was just high probability rejection that we're going to reject from that pivot. So let's cover the, you know, just getting ready for a major swing long here. Literally, I am really getting ready for a swing long. And the best swing long position is after taking out the lows at $60,000, right? And what we want to identify is that impulsive move. It's going to take a bit of time. It's going to be boring. You know, is this the wave 1? It maybe is. I don't need to know if it is the wave 1, because regardless, if we do form a sideways WXY still here, you know, I'm still looking for that 5 wave move down. If it starts here, you know, throughout the next coming days, or it starts here later on, right? Maybe next week. Doesn't matter. I know exactly what I'm looking for, and I know the zone where I, you know, want to be ready to attempt that swing long position. So going through this, you know, I have to say it was preferred. You know, I don't want to short down here. There's no way, especially with the local information that I do have on the chart, right? Significant bounce here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wave 2, yeah, absolutely. well, you know, why not? We are coming into insane level of resistance. By the way, we were covering this local move to the upside inside of the trading community. Devil, shout out to Devil, by the way. I'm not sure if he's around, but we literally came all the way up to test the value area low of this range. Okay, inside of the trading community, you know, Devil always providing those updates, myself as well. I mainly do Tuesdays and Thursdays. And Devil providing, you know, we're coming in maybe here in an impulse, coming at 66.5k range, right? Obviously in a fifth wave, you know, if we are going to cover the lower time frames here, which naturally it looks very, very interesting. You know, there is a very, very countable 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If not double zigzag, you can actually does look more impulsive, I have to say. You know, coming here to 66.5k, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Naturally, after a fifth wave, right, you're looking for that correction. We're also coming into major level of resistance, which is the value area low. So pullback here at 66.5k does make a lot of sense, right? Coming into that resistance. We do provide those daily updates, support, resistance, how the market can move every single day locally. If you are interested, hook me up into the, you know, basically send me a message in the Telegram. You get a couple of months for free if you sign up throughout one of the affiliates and do a minimum deposit for your own trading. Pretty aggressive move down. What can we say here? It's moving down a little bit aggressive. So yeah, one of the scenarios here that are looking very, very interesting for that swing long position. I have to say, it's just, I want to go in big. I want to go in heavyweight for a long position down here. I'm not confident in a long position here. Obviously, considering the bearish downtrend, you know, longs were taken here purely based that this was likely corrective. Lots of overlap. We're coming down to the value area low. You know, I was expecting this bounce that could have been long, you know, larger. However, you know, this is the sweet spot, right? If you're looking for shorts and longs, you know, you want a short from here, right? You want a long from here. So for me, you know, yeah, there was an acceptable short here. However, you know, I was just not around. It was the weekend, so couldn't care less about that movement. But based on yesterday's update, you know, this could have been a finished three-wave structure up. Okay, we pointed this out. This might be a three-wave finish here. Looking very choppy and overlappy. Does not look convincing. The only bullish scenario was a multiple 1-2, which, you know, I was in doubt a lot as well of that double 1-2, considering the bearish trend basically, right, and the information that we have. So triangle was the one that looked a little bit better here, naturally, right? So, right, literally swing longs. I am looking for them down here below $60,000, and I need to identify that impulsive move. I need to identify a large move down to label it as a wave 3, and then naturally come down into that 4-5, getting exhausted, low volume. We're looking for double bottoms, right? Even a triple bottom. If in the case if we form a double 1-2, you form a 3-wave, right? Then you're looking for that triple bottom formation at levels of support. $58,000, $57,000 range is the zone of interest for me for this swing long. And, you know, depending on how we come down there, if we do get proof of support, we start ranging and consolidating, right? Forming this kind of price action, right? Getting those double bottoms, ranging, that's when it looks interesting for that swing long position. Okay, so, right. Other scenarios, right? Other scenarios. We're going to cover them right away. What if? Let's talk about the bullish case, right? Which is low probability anyway. We covered this throughout the last few days, even on yesterday's video update, you know, just explaining that it's low probability that, you know, there's something bullish being formed from this low. You know, could it happen? Eventually it can. You know, we don't have a crystal ball. We just understand the probability and side of the market. And getting something, you know, impulsive from here is valid. Correction, another wave 1 and 2. There was a big issue here, retracing so deep. You know, a wave 2 does not usually retrace that deep. It does go to golden pocket or even the 7-8 Fibonacci retracement from the impulse. But when it hits the 0.88 Fibonacci, you realize that that's likely part of a correction. Naturally, yesterday we pointed out, it might be the D wave. This is the E wave on the formation. We end up, breaking down throughout the next coming hours or days. So it still remains the same, even worse right now, because we claimed this low, right? So if this is an impulsive move to the upside, there's a big issue right now, especially after claiming this low. And that is time, of course, right? Now, it's not an invalidation, but it does help, right, with symmetry when we understand the waves. When we do consider, right, this movement up to the upside as an impulse, right, this low literally was formed, 5 times longer than that impulsive move, right? That's this red, right? This is why we have this pink. That's already an alert sign. That's actually the 4-to-1. You're starting saying, okay, this is getting quite long. Blue's fine, green's fine. That's 1-to-1. Blue is fine, 2-to-1. When you start getting to 4-to-1, it starts getting pink and then red. And when it's in red, you understand that the probabilities for this to be basically related to this wave, right? All of this to be related to this wave starts decreasing, right? It starts affecting the probability, of course. And for the bullish case, that would be, looking at this movement as a wave 1, and what you're forming here is a wave 2 to then break out, right, in a wave 3 in the next coming weeks. That absolutely explodes. That's low probability, right? Anybody that is feeling extremely bullish, looking for $80,000 Bitcoin throughout the next couple of weeks is low probability. Okay, so of course the range can continue here, and that's what we're going to cover at the moment. The range can continue because of this breakdown. I have my doubts. If you are, this could form a higher low in this zone and claim the local highs. This movement does look more impulsive. This does look very overlappy. We did come down a bit aggressively here, but the levels, the Fibonacci golden pockets being tapped already, getting a reaction. I would treat this as an aggressive long, just tapping the golden pocket. But the golden pocket is the most respected Fibonacci retracement when you got a move up here. In this case, golden pocket usually gets at least a reaction, right? Most of the times. Right now you are bouncing from that level, and this, does have a chance of being corrective. There's lots of overlap, very messy, and this has been pretty impulsive, very messy move down, and it actually could have been an aggressive long position at the golden pocket. I have to say, a higher low in this zone is very, very possible. Very, very possible to claim these local highs based on the local information. Okay, when you're trading these scenarios, we'll dive in through the lower time frame right now. Okay, we'll dive in on the lower time frame and explain a little bit what we can look for. But going with let's just say that bullish case scenario, that's low probability. Okay, I don't think it's even worth talking about. Wave 1, wave 2 here, and then shooting up here throughout the next coming weeks, very explosively. That's low probability. Of course, there is that chance of, okay, these ranges, especially if we're in a wave 4, guys. Sorry, I want to clarify this, because you might think this dude on YouTube has no clue of what he's talking about, because he's just talking about up or down, right? I understand that, I understand that people, might think that, but you just need to understand that these ranges can become very, very complex, just like this one right over here. We actually nailed a lot of the scenarios here. They are actually pretty cool to trade, but they can be very, very complex, right? The average Joey is just going to look for a bear flag and a breakdown to the lows. Well, guess what? That was not the case. we actually formed a larger range and lots of overlap, and it's actually quite complex to read, but you do get there. You do get to something, right, at the end of the day. I just want to let you know, this could definitely be this kind of scenario, right, where we're looking for the triangle breakdown. Oh, maybe not, and maybe we actually come back up to above 70k in the next coming days. This is a very, very possible scenario based on how we've broken down in the last 24 hours, and it's all based on what happened on the last 24 hours. Based on how we broke down, this is actually quite possible. If we would have broken down impulsively, that wave 3 then continued down, to 63k zone, in an impulse, forming those 4-5s, then I would say, guys, this does look like a legit breakdown. I would be expecting a corrective bounce and then, move lower. But because how we broke down, we'll discuss that maybe that the actual bounce and that we form a longer sideways corrective structure, right, is very, very possible. Because as explained here, right, you might think, well, this is correction, we're breaking down here from the higher low, and then the breakdown does not succeed, right, based on overlap. You didn't break through, you didn't get follow through in that wave 3. And then naturally you just claim the local highs, stop out everybody that's shorting the bear flag, stop them out, and then move down, right? So, this could be something that is kind of a little bit similar, right? It could happen, right? Well, we've broken out from the triangle base, right? And surprise, surprise, the price, ends up moving up to the highs of the triangle, right? To stop everybody that's shorting here, the breakout. It's just a very, very natural market maker thing, right? So yeah, with that said, let's cover the complex range, right? As explained, when we do consider, right, what is clear here is that 3-wave structure, right? There's a wave that finishes here. That's something that is very, very clear for me, right? You've got this movement up, there's something finished here at the high. This can be labeled as a wave 1, wave A, or a wave W, right? And a zigzag. There is higher probability if this movement comes down and it is 4 or 5 times longer than this wave to the upside. If it takes longer, there is always higher probability for it to be part of a correction, regardless if it's a B or a wave X, than either a wave 2. So this has priority right now than a wave 2. If it's longer in time, it is much more common, if it's very long, to be part of a corrective move than either a wave 2 of, possible impulsive move that could be developed in the next coming weeks. It's just like that. I don't make the rules. I don't make what's more common based on history. It's just how it's in. It's written on stone. I just look to apply it here with you, legends. So, let's just go. There's actually quite a few scenarios, and I don't want to confuse a lot of the people. But basically, this could be a wave W right there, which you formed your zigzag, move to the upside, and inside of this structure, unfortunately, you can have a 3-wave down. Okay, you can have this flat move to the upside. You can have a zigzag move to the downside. Your wave X can finish here. Your wave X can finish here. And, this is where it becomes a little bit tricky. Let's just go with one of the scenarios where, let's say that wave X finished here. You have a WXY inside of your X wave, right? Instead of finishing here, let's just speculate that it's finished here, because you have a 3-wave down, flat here, and another 3-wave down. With this scenario, if you finished your wave X here, you got a 3-wave up, WXY finishing a wave X, there is a chance of this being a 3-wave move up, and this one also being an ABC with an extended C wave. What we would be looking at here is for a flat structure. Okay, we would be looking for that impulsive move to the upside in a 5-waver. We are very much inside of the B wave target. We had a 3-wave move up throughout the weekend, and a 3-wave move down here. Well, this can be, it's a little bit tricky. This is either an extended 5th wave or it's an ABC, and your C wave here was an extension hitting the 2-to-1 extension from the wave A. The thing is that you are at the B wave targets, okay? You are in the B wave target zone, which is naturally between the 1-to-1 and the 1.382 Fibonacci, right? That's this is a expanding flat B wave target area. Hear me out here, because this is actually going to be quite easy. I do expect it to be easy to identify. It would be quite easy to identify, of course. One of the main reasons why is I am looking, any move to the upside, regardless if it's 70k or plus 72k, I am looking at all of this still to be corrective. Very similar to the movement up that we did have here back in, December, January, right over here. We were not looking for anything bullish here. We were not looking for a, multiple 1, 2, 3, right? This is a wave. There was a scenario that was low probability, leading diagonal wave 1, wave 2 right over here, 1, 2, 1, 2, right? We break out. This was low probability based on the leading diagonal, and we had many different corrective combinations here that always have priority over a leading diagonal, okay, in a wave 1 here. So we were not looking. I was very much aware of rejecting here, under $100,000, and really looking for the price to roll over. I have the same feeling here. I have the same feeling that any movement to the upside, it needs to be studied very, very much. Of course, we do have that potential, as explained here, that maybe the triangle is not the breakout. We got a big move down that got a significant bounce here, which has the potential of, either being an extended 5th wave with that bounce, right? At the moment, this is basically the drawing of this. Yes, this could be an impulse, okay, with an extended wave 5. However, they're not very common. They're not that common. So you just want to be aware of, what if inside on the lower time frame, you can fit in here literally a 3-wave move, right? C wave as an extension. Locally, the move up looks quite impulsive. Movement down does look a bit corrective. So we are considering that bullish case scenario, right? And this all comes to an epic swing short position that I would want to take. Okay, understanding that the probabilities are in my side for a big move down, and it's all understanding how to identify this. This is why you're here. You're here for the education. You're here to, obviously see those movements and try and understand them here with myself, and naturally, turn you into a better technical analyst and a better trader at the end of the day. So 2 scenarios. Okay. Extended 5th wave, right? We would be looking at this to still continue a correction throughout today and tomorrow. That's all good and fine. Your invalidation is taking out 68.7k. So the bears don't want to take out those local highs of the weekend. Okay, you need to form a lower high here for this to be a wave 1, a wave 2, very choppy, corrective, whatever. We do have a lot of resistance. Naturally, that's that value area low and the point of control of this range coming in, between 66.5 and 67.2, sorry, which is that point of control. Yeah, of course, it could happen, but resistance are there to be broken as well, right? That scenario is just looking at this as a wave one. Wave one with an extension fifth wave, not the best. You form that wave two, right? In the next couple of days, end up breaking down in a wave three. This is where it becomes interesting, right? After that wave three, we want that stop, as explained at the beginning of the stream. Very, very interested below 60k after taking this low to start looking for swing long positions. As explained, we're looking for that larger fifth wave of the higher time frame, right? So that's what, that's one scenario. Very, very good, swing long opportunities for myself that I'm looking at below 60k. This ends up, moving down in an impulse. What can we do? This is a wave one with an extension fifth wave. Okay. What if this is a three-wave structure? It can also be labeled. It's actually a little bit of a tricky move. It is actually a bit tricky, a little bit confusing, but overall, you can fit in a three-wave move, five-wave down here, shallow pullback, relatively quick, and then the movement down in a C wave extension is an extended C wave. I prefer, when we look at probabilities, an extension C wave than either an extension fifth wave. So, I'm kind of looking at the local bullish case scenario that could happen, could get that local bounce, but not that interested really in doing anything here at the moment. Obviously, intraday, when we consider intraday, that golden pocket, the best thing that you can do is, yes, this does look impulsive. This does look corrective. If this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think we just barely crossed the 382. Oh no, we haven't. We didn't create that high. This high is very, very quick in time, so this could naturally extend sideways or actually take out the highs. If you are looking for that bounce, which does have a chance, it does have a good chance for it to happen, your invalidation is the lows, right? Your invalidation is the lows because you don't want the lows being taken naturally, right? You're looking for that higher low and then to take out this high. So, if you consider that trade setup, if I would consider that trade setup, naturally getting in at the lowest level possible, target the highs, it could squeeze out to some higher levels. It's your invalidation. That's where I need to manage risk if I would be taking this long trade, at least for the first stop. Risk reward is not that great, but it's a valid local day trade based on my understanding here looking at the chart. Right, what the next swing short position that looks pretty damn epic, and we're just going with one of the scenarios. There is actually a couple of more. Looking at this as a three-wave W, your wave X can be anything. Your wave X can be a complex WXY. It can be a triangle. It can be, many different corrective structures, and they can be relatively confusing. And when you do combine, this price action with this one and this one, you can fit a WXY right over here, and that could be your wave X as explained. Because the movement up yesterday was a high probability three-wave structure based on the update, right? It's a three-wave move. This could be an ABC, or it could be a 1-2-1-2. What is it going to be? Well, it ended up being a three-wave structure, and the triangle was one of the things that we were giving priority based on yesterday's video update. I was giving, sorry, not we. This scenario is looking, if we did not break down successfully from the triangle, okay, it's a very, very trappy situation for the people that are extremely bearish, right? We get some people commenting here saying we're looking for 43k, if not 35k, right, in the next coming weeks. It's super bearish. We need to understand that local bounce is possible. And what would be more interesting, just because I understand that all of this, regardless if we get up here, is highly likely corrective, regardless if we go into this zone of 70k region, it's highly likely corrective. I'm still interested in another short position, even though I, very successfully shorted this level, okay, last week, well, at the beginning of the week, actually. If this is a WXY formation, yeah, of course, 3-wave up, you can fit in a 3-wave down here, with a C wave being a little bit punchy, but I actually prefer this to be a 3-waver, just with an extension C wave, just because an extension 5th wave is quite rare. But at the same time, we're in a very bearish market trend, so you have to say, come on, man, there's nothing bullish regardless, right? Well, you do have that bearish scenario. It's a B, C, D, E. Wave 1 with an extension 5th wave. You just kind of bounce here very poorly, and then it ends up breaking down. You have a valid count here. Your invalidation is crystal clear for the bears if you're looking for the price to continue to the downside. That is 68.6. You're happy to short, invalidation for the local bulls is the low. Invalidation for the bears to take out this low, if this is an impulse, is 68.6k, right? So at the end of the day, you look for the strategy, you manage your risk, and you take the decision naturally, right, on those bounces or those rejections. On the bearish side of things, locally bullish, if this is a zigzag up in a wave W, and this is a complex sideways correction in your wave X, there is a way of fitting a wave X here as well. We'll go through that later. Let's cover this one first of all. Let's just imagine that this is an impulse, you form a corrective move here, and then you move up very aggressively to start sweeping up those lower highs here at 68.6k from the weekend. This could be, this could be looking quite punchy, looks quite bullish. People are going to start saying, okay, we've broken the trend here, and we're looking for much higher levels. But I've seen this movie before where, you sweep up the lows, you fake out the triangle lows, all right, that resistance, you fake out the triangle highs, and then you come down, right? And when we talk about elliott wave theory, what could fit in nicely here is a sideways complex WXY, right? Where in this case, you're still looking to finish that Y wave, and you're looking for that C wave of a flat in this case. This scenario, right, is you're basically looking for that impulsive move to the upside. You're looking for that impulsive move. The moment you can detect that impulsive move, and how you detect it is you got a wave 1, a wave 2, a wave 3, you got, start getting some steam here and getting a significant move. The moment you start, that retracement, that shallow pullback, rangy structure for a wave 4, which is most common how it's moved in a rangy, shallow pullback, you're looking at the last move up here to form that impulse, that wave 5, right? When you combine the different waves that you do have here, I understand that, hey, we could be looking for a flat here to finish your Y wave, combining this and combining this, or maybe we have this. So, naturally, it's my priority. We can talk about resistance and support levels all day long, guys, but, at the end of the day, elliott wave theory is what rules the game. Elliott wave theory is what rules the game. You want to use those levels of confluence, Fibonacci, naked point of control, daily, weekly, right, you name it, as confluence with your elliott wave theory, and that's just going to give you the absolute power, right, to detect those trading setups. It is what it is. It really, turns into magic once you know what you're looking for. So yeah, I mean, you don't know how this impulse could evolve, but when we go with the probability side of things, this movement down has come down to the 236382 from this movement up, which is a three-wave structure. So I understand that as we do hit that 12361382, what would be more common is to look for an extension C wave on the flat. So an extensive C wave, right? Extension flat. I'm getting my words mixed up here. An extension flat would be looking for the 1.618 extension, and even, you know, a C wave extension in a flat can even come all the way up to the 2.618. It depends on how aggressive that impulse is evolving. You know, are we going to get multiple 1-2s and then the third wave and then multiple 4-5s? I don't know. You know, is it only going to be one wave 1 and 2 here, right? And then we've got the third wave and then the fourth and the fifth, right? And it's actually pretty shallow. If you have multiple 1-2s, you would expect the impulse to extend a little bit higher because you got a few 4-5s to get developed. If you have only one 1-2 and then you get a big breakout, then you understand, okay, I'm only looking for one wave 4 and 5. It all depends on how the structure is developed here if we are going to form the start of an impulse. Now, you know, it depends on where, you know, as explained, where is that impulse going to finish in a consolidation? Will it be at this top of the highs of the weekend? Maybe you do form that 1, 2, 3, right? And then the 4 and 5. Maybe it's a very shallow one. It just gets above 68.6k. And then the Y wave finishes right there. Maybe the impulse, you know, volume kicks in, there's no range, and it just continues up. What do? We sit on what do? I sit on my hands and just wait for that range, wait for that wave 4, right, to be formed here, and then look for the fifth wave coming into levels of resistance, right? If it were to be more aggressive, like this stage right over here, well, this high looks very, very good, right? If we finish a wave 3 here, where could that wave 5 finish? Well, we got value area high and this pivot high right over here. This is actually a pretty epic swing failure pattern if we move up like this, right? Like this movement right there, your impulse, boom, boom, big 3, solid little, you know, little rangy fourth wave, and then the fifth wave. It all depends on how we get up there. It all depends, right? If you're forming multiple 1-2s here locally like this, then, well, we could extend higher and get even above 72.2k, which is the range highs. Depends on how we move up here before getting the third wave. Because then we understand, well, we could be looking for 1-4-5. Maybe we're looking for 2-4-5s. And then the levels of resistance, you know, look no further. You know, I would keep it relatively simple when we're looking at levels of resistance here. Would be this lower high as an SFP. There is that high volume node that was not tapped on that bounce at 69k. There's actually a daily level there that was also not tapped. So there's a daily level and there's a point of control. Well, not a point of control, it's a high volume node literally. It was the point of control a few weeks ago before we got this price action. And that's a good level basically, right? You know, a good SFP level because you got confluence above that pivot high. So if we move up like this, boom, 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 5-wave move, right? Then, you know, naturally we're looking for a significant SFP right there that could bring the price straight back down. That's how I would be, you know, approaching a new short position. You know, I am position short. You know, I have no interest in shorting down here. Right? It's just not. It's not how I trade. So, you know, we look for different opportunities, right? And ones that are higher probability. Depending on how we move up here, we're looking for that 5-wave structure to look for a flat here in your wave Y. Daily level, lower high, high volume node on the volume profile. That's enough confluence for me if we end up that impulse with the 4-5 to look for that swing failure pattern from the highs of Saturday. If we move up very aggressively, the next pivot, this is actually a good SFP level. Why? It's the value area high of the range of the last few weeks. So depending on how we move up there, I'm also interested in taking that short position. I understand it could be a Y wave, and it could be a flat to finish Y, and then we come down, right, in the next coming days after that formation to tackle $60,000. It's just how I'm approaching new short opportunities. Okay, it's just how I'm really approaching new short setups, and I just want to share them with you, obviously. And then there's the most aggressive one that actually, takes out the highs of the range at 72.2, right? I would say that you need a multiple 1-2s, a third, and then big third wave, 4-5s, and actually that, once we get that exhaustion, we can understand that looking for that short above 72k is, he's going to be very, 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 very attractive. So yeah, that's a little bit it here of, I would say, the main scenarios. If I were to be looking for a swing short position, don't be that guy. Could it play out in the end, right? This is an impulse, an extensive wave 5, and we end up moving down. Your stop loss is here. Yeah, hey, if we are downtrending, we are in a bearish market. Could I say that? Why not this? Why not this, right? It's just going to roll over at the end of the day. I don't like shorting breakouts, or I don't like longing breakouts. Okay, breakdowns, I don't like to short them. Just because I understand that the market is here to trick you, right? And, just generally here, when you look for that breakdown here of this bearish channel, I got actually a lot of people, making fun of me here because we were talking about, sideways complex WXYs and, A, B, C. Is this a diagonal A and then B and then C? And people were saying, it's a bear flag, mate. Look at the chart. It doesn't matter. I don't have time to discuss with these guys. They're coming with that. But, at the end of the day, we did come up all the way up to the high. So, could I say here that you get into short on the breakdown, you're targeting the lows, stop loss at the high, it's just not obvious. It's obviously not a great plan, right? So this is why I don't like to short, the breakouts here. If you ask me, yeah, naturally it could happen because we do have a triangle pattern. We do have a possible wave 1 with an extension 5th wave, even though it is rare, but the market is bearish. Your invalidation literally is 68.6k. It's the highs of Saturday. So, if you are convinced about this bounce, it is coming in at resistance. You just need to manage risk, unless you're getting into a scalp day trade, because maybe if you're inside of the trading community, you did enter a short position here at 66.3, 66.4, because, with Devil providing, end of an impulse, literally here. We are hitting the resistance as well here at 66.3k zone. Maybe some legends are in the short. It depends on how, and then you protected already, right? You just entered a short here, give a bit of room for stop loss, moving down already. You're defensive, maybe this is the trade, right? That actually gets you to lower prices, but it all depends on how, what you're trading, right? Lower time frame. I like to explain here on YouTube the higher time frame possibilities, and then inside of the trading community, naturally we focus on the lower time frame, right? On levels of resistance, local waves, and how the price could develop more for intraday entries. Okay, this is what myself and Devil share. I'll be very much active tomorrow inside of the trading community. It's my day, Tuesday, and we look for the internal levels, right, for local setups here on YouTube. We want to focus a little bit more on the higher time frame picture and consider the swing possibilities, right? I want to consider swing possibilities here more for the legends on YouTube. So naturally, the bears locally, if this is a successful breakdown and this is a wave 1, your invalidation is the lower high. Your target zone, if this is a wave 1, you're looking for a wave 2 to be developed between today and tomorrow, is targeting the lows. You want to see an impulsive move down. Is it legit? Do we have a possibility? Absolutely. You know, the possibilities are there naturally based on the triangle breakdown. However, you know, there's always something that you don't like. Sometimes you like it a lot. Sometimes I don't like it too much. Obviously, what I have here, I don't like it too much as a wave 1. Why? Because we have an extension wave 5. We've already got a pretty decent bounce that's hit the golden pocket. And, you know, it's one of those things that you don't like too much, right? I like to generally see the common movements, and a common impulse is, you know, your wave 3 being the longest one, not the wave 5. So that's already, you know, I don't like it, you know. So, you know, things that are disturbing naturally as price evolves. And, but, you know, look no further. You know, if you're not looking at elite wave theory, you say, this is broken down, we're going to come down here. You need to understand that you need to manage risk. That is your solid invalidation at 68.5. Of course, then, you know, the problem is here, if you form a flat, you're going to get stopped out, and then the price is going to move down as well. So, you know, I would be ready, you know, to execute another position here if we were to move up in an impulse to form that flat, right? Where you have W here, zigzag, you got your wave X right over here, and now you form a flat. Just to... because at the end of the day, it's a liquidity game. Swept up the liquidity of the lows of the range. You know, it might come up to sweep up the liquidity from the lower highs, you know, between this week and last week. Well, sorry, the previous week. It is Monday today, so previous week, right? And even the other week as well on Sunday. You know, maybe it does manage to squeeze through. So the invalidation here for a solid continuation breakdown, if we are considering this triangle, it is that last lower high, that E wave. Sorry, my bad. This is the wrong one. This one right over here. So, you know, what is most important in trading is the risk management, right? It is the risk management, right? You know, some people, a lot of the people do usually risk more than they're willing to lose, of course, and you know, losing significant percentages of their account. This should be taken as one more trade, right? If you're looking for this to form a lower high between the 50% and the golden pocket as your wave 2, you know, your invalidation is the high, and you would want to target the lows, because if this is the end of the triangle, which has the potential, then naturally, you know, this is a very, very possible target zone to be hit in the next coming days. That would be your attacking level, right? Is there reasons to believe it? Yes, we have a triangle, okay? We have a possible impulse. You know, there's a small little red flag with this impulse. Wave 5 is extended. You like the wave 3 to be extended, not wave 5. Some little red flags. Okay, so as there is a little red flag, and I'm not gonna maybe not gonna risk 2% in this trade. I'm maybe gonna risk 1. If it comes to fruition, then I'm making 3%, right? So you get the deal, right? You really need to manage as you go based on the probability side of things. But look no further. You know, for the bearish case, this is your invalidation. Naturally, for your wave 2, you want to, you know, reject between 50% and the 7/8 Fibonacci. Same is true very, very locally. You know, if this is really a, you know, a 3-wave move, 3-wave up, 3-wave down, and you're going to form an impulse here throughout the next coming days to sweep above 68.6k. You know, you look no further, it is also, you know, the 50% to the goal, to the 7/8 Fibonacci is, you know, the entry point, and your stop loss is the low. And, you know, this has the potential in breaking up in a third wave, I have to say, right, based on that flat. So, you know, the risk to reward is relatively attractive. You know, sometimes it is worth the risk to reward. You know, risking 0.5 or 1%. And if the extension is actually pretty good, then why not take the shot, right? It's all about managing risk, right? keeping losses small and keeping the wings larger than your losses naturally, right? So yeah, that's a little bit it here on the higher time frame. Well, higher time frame inside of this range. Extremely interested in swing longs, mainly down here. If the price, okay, I've explained this at the beginning of the stream. This is like super interesting swing long zone below 60k. We've got lots of support. It could be the 5th wave. I'm looking for that 5 wave move down at some point, regardless here or here. I'm really interested in longs beneath 60k. We need to detect that 3 wave and that 4 and 5 coming at levels of support. There's a monthly point of control at 58k zone. I can show you right over here if you wish. Yeah, 57.9. And very interested in swing longs in this territory after sweeping up this low. It's not a scalp. It's not quick enter because we've tapped the low already. We could deep go down to 56, 55 maybe, right? It's going to be swing long, and it will be studied very carefully, especially inside of the trading community on the Telegram. If you're interested, you can get a couple of months for free, guys. You just need to sign up throughout one of the exchanges, do a minimum deposit, and this is for your own trading, okay? It's for your own trading. So yeah, this is going to be a very interesting zone for me, okay? As explained at the beginning of the stream. The other swing short position that, I don't want to get into swing short position here. I'm already short from here. I'm already short from higher, which, was compounding throughout the last few weeks. That's this one right over here that I have on, yeah, literally, most of the profits have been taken already on this one. And then this, very good aggressive entry point that Devil did point out inside of the trading community. Okay, this one was, I had so much confidence in this short. This, sometimes there are some trades that you are extremely confident, some you're not that confident. The ones that you're extremely confident about is the ones that I want to push, 3%, even 3.5, right, really stretching it of risk where my stop loss is. Okay, in that case, stop loss is the high or even the 0.88. This is very likely was going to reject here in this territory. But those are the ones that I want to go in heavy, right? The ones that you're confident is where you stretch your maximum risk, okay, tolerance. The ones that you're not too, that I'm not too sure is the ones that I kind of chicken out, right? I'm like, I'm going to risk 0.5% on this. We'll try and add to the position if position gets a sign of strength, right? The market gets a sign of strength. It really does depend. And, this was for me the trade of last week. I was really confident in this. And we actually pointed this out on YouTube, basically a day in advance, even 2, very much aware of getting that reaction beneath this higher low, looking for that 5 waver, looking for that bounce as a correction, which had a high probability, and then this movement back down, right? Just a few $1,000s of a move, but very confident in that movement down to happen. As explained on that same day, or on Sunday before it happened, right? We got the reaction at the lows, we got the bounce, we formed the lower high, and we came back beneath the lows again, right? So, it's just something that I was looking for, right? A couple of days before. Actually a day before, right? This happened on Monday. On Sunday, Sunday was the stream. We're looking at that scenario one day before, right? So another, the other, sorry guys, I'm just looking at the levels of interest here for a great swing position, swing long position, obviously below $60,000, looking for that end of an impulse. If the price were to, I understand that I'm not looking for a wave 3 here breakout, regardless if we do get above 70k, 68k, right, or 70k. I'm looking for shorts. I understand that the probabilities, you know, are down the toilet for the bulls at the moment for a breakout in a wave 3 here. We ain't looking for you know, a wave 3. Could it happen? Well, yeah, I mean, maybe yes, but I know what we're looking at, right? We are looking for that impulsive move here, and the high probability that this is just extending. It's just a sideways WXY, right? 3 wave up, sideways X, and maybe now you form your flat in your wave Y, looking for the end of an impulse, coming into resistance. You know, we do have 69k where we have a daily level that has not been tapped. Maybe we hit that daily level. You know, we also form that SFB from this lower high if we finish the 5th wave. This is actually a zone from 68.6, depending on how we get up there. Naturally, if we get up there, because if we smash through, you're still moving up with volume. You form a couple of 1-2s right in this region, and you break out. You know, I'm not going to sure if volume increases and you're breaking out. I want to see already, you know, the exhaustion in the wave 3 and a bit of a consolidation beneath that pivot. Then I know that I'm looking for the double top locally. If you break out, then we go higher. You know, who cares? It doesn't matter. I'm not shorting. I want to educate here to make you understand, you know, how to take the decisions and manage risk. If that is the case, then obviously I'm looking for the value area high. And the value area high is where I would be looking for that 4-5 scenario. This pivot, local double triple tops. That is only a triple top if you form a double 1-2. So extremely interested as well to look for a new short position, because the probabilities are very, very high that if you do get that movement to the upside above 68.6k, you're still looking for a combination and the end of a corrective structure. It doesn't matter if it is above this high or it's above this high. You know, we are here to detect that movement. We're here to detect that, how we get up there. How do we get up there? What wave are we in? What levels of resistance do we have? We'll do a, you know, obviously we'll do a breakdown of the levels of resistance and then support, and, you know, understanding the waves, then, you know, ultimately take that decision. This could take a few days, but you know what? I know what I'm looking for down here. I know what I'm looking for up here. I understand that the probabilities of breaking down, taking out this low from where we at down to $40,000 is low probability, and that we are likely going to hold the high mid 50k region for a significant bounce. That's what I know and what I understand. So I'm very interested in longs, right? Same scenario to the downside. Why am I so interested in shorts here? What if we break out? Well, you know, we'll go and look through the levels and scenarios here, but I know what I'm looking for, and I know that there is low probability of smashing through here in a wave 3. There's low probability based on time, based on, you know, not looking at this for a wave 2. You know, likely a corrective structure. So obviously coming into levels of resistance, a sideways WXY is what makes more sense here. I know what I'm looking for. Major pivot, SFB, also this one, point of control of this region, which is at 69k with a daily level. As you know, it can, you know, literally hand in hand here with an SFB from this zone. Very, very interested and looking for shorts in this range, looking for longs in this range. And, you know, I was interested in shorts here. I was interested in longs here. Where are we at currently? You know, they're not that great. This could be a wave 1. You're developing your wave 2. You break down. It could still be that sideways WXY, I have to say. You know, the probabilities of finding a good solid trade here for me are not on my side. You know, naturally, if you are saying this is a legit breakout. Well, you know, obviously your invalidation is here for that wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your invalidation is 68.6. If you are looking for the flat structure, you know, to get above this 68.8k, locally your invalidation is the lows at 64.2k, right? And then if I'm going to get into trade here, I would just go with the low risk, right? If I'm happy to get into this, all right, you know, I do see this as an impulse. I do see this as a 3-waver with an extension 3rd wave. This does look like an impulse. This looks corrective, lots of overlap. You know, if I'm going to get into this trade, likely I'm going to risk, you know, 0.5 or 1% max. Yeah, it has a chance, naturally. Risk reward is great, so it's kind of worth a shot. You know, what if we do get into that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? It's all about risk to reward and managing risk. Preferably we get a trade that is a very high probability, right? And you know, the only main trade, there was this double bottom here as well with an extension. Devil pointed this out inside of the trading community, but also this one over here. You know, this was such a high probability rejection point. You're coming in at the point of control, and a golden pocket, I think it was here, from the highs to the lows. And when you are, you know, you understand the confluence here, and you understand that, you know, if this hasn't been a double zigzag or an impulse, it doesn't matter. If we count it as an impulse, it doesn't really matter, double zigzag or impulse, because it all has to do with this wave down. Impulsive down. You know, if you move down in an impulse after this wave, I'm not looking at the price to do this. You know, I'm looking for a lower high, especially if you have an impulsive move here. And if you know, what is interesting about this, where probabilities are extremely in your favor, this is why I got into a massive short position here. Just because I thought, you know, this is time to get aggressive, right? This is time to go aggressive. Looking for the lows to be claimed, looking for that overall 3-way structure. You know, sometimes the planets align and I'm like, yeah, this is actually an insane level, and you're literally getting into the pump on a short position, but you have an impulse down after this wave. This is very quick in time. You know, you're not expecting this to do this. I was not expecting at all for this to happen and take out this high. You know, you are highly likely going to form a lower high here and come back down to get to this low. You know, obviously get continuation, of course, possibly. As you know, when you identify how you got up there, the fact that we retraced so much from this low, the probabilities of a multiple 1-2 here to break out in a 3rd wave and multiple 4-5s were low probability, because you're moving down deep into the 0.88 Fibonacci. You know, wave 2s don't usually come down that deep. However, B waves do. B waves, you know, is actually common. You know, B waves sometimes get to the 0.88 Fibonacci. So, you know, naturally, with the combination of what happened, move up here, this is too quick in time to V-shape. You have an impulse down. This is likely the formation of a correction. If you get that nice bounce up here to the golden pocket region with a high volume node, then it's like the market is coming to you and saying, here's your trade that you've been planning for. Are you going to take it or not? So obviously, you know, I was out and about. Devil also pointed this out inside of the community. Had to be taken because this is what we wait for. This is what we plan for, and obviously that was taken, you know, heavyweight. So there's no heavyweight trade for me at the moment. You know, there's no heavyweight trade. Heavyweight trades are coming down into this zone, or potentially come all the way back here, because I will short again if the market decides to get back above 68.7k, and I will analyze very carefully how we got up there. And hopefully maybe you got some, a lot of value out of this. Right now here locally, yeah. Is it a successful breakdown? Is it a wave one? Well, this wave one has an extended fifth wave. Well, I don't like that. Well, if you don't like it, then are you going to short a lower high? Well, if I do, it's going to be small because I don't like it too much. Unless you got into a snipey trade here at the value area low and on the lower time frame, as Dev was providing inside of the community, you could have that fifth wave. You're finishing the fifth wave here into the value area low, double zigzag. If this naturally ends up breaking down, you need to fit some kind of a corrective structure here. But it does fit in better as an impulse. So the point is here, I'm not interested. If it is going to be a successful breakout of the triangle and we have that A, B, C, D, E, I have a problem with the breakout. Extension fifth wave. It can be counted as a three waver. This can be counted as a three waver too. What I do like is liquidity grabs. Of course, you claim the lows, and if the price were to, in the next couple of days, to form that impulsive move to sweep up this high, I know that this could very likely be a flat. And where I would want to get into a new short position would be basically on the liquidity grab game, looking for that fifth wave. So, very locally here, not interested in shorts. Longs, not that interesting also, but you could have the attempt. You could have that attempt without a doubt. But as explained, well, if it can go up or can go down, this is what I got on yesterday's video, which be based on this. If you watch the first 2 minutes of yesterday's video update, it's a 29-minute update yesterday, guys. We talk about a few scenarios and, the possibility of the bullish one, which was actually getting above 72K. But if you pay attention, I literally cover the first scenario. The one that I prefer is actually coming down to claim the low. That has the highest probability. And the highest probability for the moment, based on the information that we have with the bounce of the last few days, that can look corrective, and with the information that we have, is looking for the triangle breakdown. Right? This is it's my favorite scenario. I cannot say that we are going to get a bounce. We are going to come down. I need to, talk more professionally, as in, a higher probability to come down or higher probability to go up. I like this for scenario more than this one, and that's how we talk as traders. We never too bullish or we never too bearish. We adapt to the conditions of the market as we get the information. So anyway, much love to everybody. Sorry about that. Jason Casper, here he is, the man, the legend himself. Much love, my man. Thank you very much for joining the stream and smashing up the like button. Guys, if you don't know who Jason Casper is, I'm sure a lot of you do. I'm sure half of you do know who Jason Casper is. Go and check out this legend. He does some awesome live streams, great technical analysis. He does use some different things. He does use Market Cypher a lot, and many other different tools that I don't use. But he's an absolute legend. Make sure to go and check him out, guys. Mark Dutch here inside of the comment section. Also, massive love to you, my man. Sorry about that, guys. I've been so distracted with the charts here, just breaking down a little bit of what, where I do see the big juicy heavyweight trades, and locally it's like, yeah, we need a bit of more information. What I could say here, this has been, very, very fast. If it is going to break down in the end in a wave 3, it has been very, very fast. If we are considering this a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this has been a bit too fast. It is hitting the level of resistance, which is that value area low, right, of this trading zone. What can we say? It is resistance at the end of the day. It would be a little bit too fast as a wave 2. But we you know, we are in very much bearish market, guys. What can we do? Jason Casper, the man himself, much love to you, my man. Thank you very much for joining. Mark Dutch here, and I can see Deviled as well. Mr. Jason Casper in the house. God bless you, bro. Thank you for the analysis. Much love, Jason. Thank you very much for joining. I'll have to hop onto your live streams also. You're an absolute legend. Thank you very much for joining and saying hi, my man. Go and check out Jason Casper. Go and check out Deviled, but Deviled, me and Deviled have come together in this channel. He'll be doing the morning updates, as you do know, you know, live streams or video updates. Awesome coach in the trading community. He actually provided his trade setup, which, you know, I was ready for as well, right? We did talk about this, move down and bounce and then move lower on YouTube, but he was the one that provided it inside of the trading community, guys. So shout out to Devil. He's an absolute legend. If you are interested, guys, this is where you get the daily updates, analysis, possible setups that either Devil or myself are going to take, and just sharing our, you know, personal trading journey, of course, and education. You do get a few months for free, guys. If you are interested, super easy. Send me the word access on Telegram. You can sign up to either Bluffin, Velto. You need to do so for your own trading. Minimum deposit. Okay, these are affiliate links, of course, and we'll get you a couple of months for free inside of the community. Legends, absolute legends. Greetings, Jason Casper, Mark Dutch. Much love, my man. Devil is one of the best TA educators in the crypto space. He absolutely is. I can tell you that. Much love, Mark Dutch, Jason Casper, Devils. Guys, thank you very much for joining today's stream. It's been absolutely epic. We'll be forwarding more inside of the trading community. Tomorrow is a big day. Let's see where the price is. And we'll look for some new setups. For me, no new trades at the moment. Happy to hold the short positions from high. I'm actually in a swing long on silver. Hopefully silver does get above $92. That is my main target, something that we covered inside of the trading community a few weeks ago already, and I am looking for silver to get above $92 at some point, and that's where I would be taking most of these profits. We bounced out the weekly, bounced out the value area low. You know, there's many reasons. Seeing 70k lows here as a good longing opportunity. SFP of the range lows, of course, as well. We love them, and now we're looking for the range highs for that TP in that silver long. And there's no new local trades for me, at least, guys. Thank you very much for joining today's stream. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for smashing up the like button. Trade safe, stay safe. And all the best to you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you, Mark Dutch, Devil, Jason Casper for joining. See you tomorrow, guys.